Welcome to the AME Food Safety Show. Today's topics are critical for any living human being to maintain their bodies in today's world. The first topic, food safety for people who are immunocompromised. This population has been increasing dramatically over the last 20 years, and it will continue to increase as we support our lifestyles. Additionally, pet food pathogens. How many of us have pet friends in our homes? Let's look at the food and look at the potential for cross-contamination. Let's look at chemicals in tobacco cigarettes. And let's look how those chemicals affect the human body and the companies that produce them. Let's also look at the top food companies which produce food which we eat every day, what their motivations are, what their profit margins are, and how they affect your bodies. Let's begin by talking first about a new product that I have developed. It's primarily known as an ultraviolet scanner. It emits ultraviolet light at a certain wavelength, which disrupts bacteria. If you travel quite a bit, you should wand every area which you know you're going to touch in that hotel room. If you use a computer keyboard, a mouse, or other common instrumentalities, you should screen it with this type of technology. I will very soon be coming out with my own brand, and you can buy these very simply for a very low price and use them to effectively disrupt the DNA of those organisms. Again, I'd like to remind everyone that's watching this show to obtain a bumper sticker that says, "Only eat safe food." AME Food Safety Show. I am providing these for free by simply calling 559-827-8245. Again, 559-827-8245. They're mine. They'll be totally free. I paid for them, and I encourage everyone to eat only safe food. Let's begin with our topic, this slideshow, talking about people in immunocompromised situations. As we look at this topic and in its slide, you will see major categories. If you have anybody inside your household that fits in this category, you should strictly monitor the consumption of that food. Let's begin. People with HIV, AIDS, hepatitis A, B, and C, people undergoing cancer treatments, people on certain types of medications which lower or suppress their immune system. Let's talk about old people. Let's talk about young people who have not had an opportunity to be exposed to these organisms. Next slide. What is an immunocompromised human? It is a person that for whatever reason, either an inert bacterial contamination or a transplant or some other medical condition, cannot resist major bacterial contaminations in their bodies. They can become sicker or even die. So, immunosuppression reduces the efficiency of the human immune system. We generate certain organisms in our bodies to protect us. There are common diseases and conditions which are made worse, eventually resulting in death. We are looking at our tonsils, adenoids, lymph nodes, the thymus, the spleen. We're looking at various parts of our bodies, the lymphatic system, which protects us from those organisms. If you're in any of these situations, listen to the following words. Next slide, please. HIV. I was at the movies the other day. There was a giant notice of young people who went in for HIV testing, and a surprising statistic to me of people that live here in Fresno particularly, that over half of them had test positive for HIV. These are young people just starting their lives. How can it be transmitted? On the far left of that chart, you'll see sexual contact, a pregnancy, an injection from drug use. You'll also see blood transfusions. And the acute infection builds up to a condition known as AIDS. The human immunodeficiency virus is a particularly type of horrible condition for the human body. It breaks it down. You cannot resist. Even a cold is seriously damaging that person's resistance. Next slide, please. People with AIDS, this is a very horrible situation, which is almost 100% death. There are some theoretical treatments, but the bottom line on AIDS is that it is the acquired immune deficiency syndrome. AIDS patients are very sensitive to human bacterial pathogens. Even an E. coli in an apple or an orange or listeria in a cantaloupe will kill them. Next slide. People with hepatitis A, B, and C. The way you get hepatitis is very, very common activities. You're talking about non-sterile needles. You're talking about contamination in dialysis equipment. You're talking about contamination from vaccination equipment, anything that penetrates the skin, non-sterile dental practices. You're talking about contaminated drug needles or body piercings that have not been sterilized properly. Also food. You can get hepatitis from being served food where one of the servers or food preparers was already contaminated. It's horrible. So it's primarily defined by inflammation of the liver. People actually lose their liver tissue and the organ completely. Next slide. People on medications. Now, as you age, we are finding in our current society, if you go to the doctor, once you start, they'll start giving you medications. What I implore everyone that's watching this show, and many of our young people are also on medications, read the package insert. I'm going to say it again. To ask for the package insert. If you're at Walgreens or you're at Target and you pick up your prescriptions and you ask them, what is this? Because there's a fancy name. Oh, it's just aspirin. Take it anyway. Ask for the package insert on anything that goes in your body. Why am I looking at medications? Because the AME Food Safety Show is about people putting things in their bodies. Additionally, many of these drugs, when you read that package insert, are immunosuppressant type drugs. Look for that, circle it, call your physician or your caregiver. What you'll find is if you have a transplant, either a kidney, a heart, or a liver, or if you have a new hip, or you have new knees, or even valves in your heart, read the product insert of the medication you're giving. 9 times out of 10, you're going to find that that product that you're given as a pharmaceutical product will suppress your immune system because you don't want your body attacking that implement that you've put in your body. Next slide, please. We have found, as you look at that chart on the right, from 1900 to 2080, that's a little out, but right now we're almost there at 2015, the age of people has grown longer and longer. You know, a veteran in the Civil War was considered to be almost too old to fight at 45. Many of the troops were 15, 16, 17. As we look at the progression of healthcare, keeping people alive longer, you're going to see more people over 85 years of age. Why do I have 85 as a marker? Is that people over 85, their immune system is drastically reduced. Simply, they cannot resist the flu of any variety. We also find people that are not as immune in their system to resist disease, and they will not generally survive a pathogenic food ingestion. I'll say this in my own experience. I worked on the food company that produced cantaloupes a few years ago, and the bottom line on that is 33 people died. One was a woman, and she was pregnant. That child was female, but the rest were males. Most of them were veterans, and most of them were under the care of the VA system, and they were given almost carte blanche medications which reduced their immune system, and they died. So they served in the military at least 20 years, and then were taken out by a cantaloupe. Next slide. Young people, I'm saying this to all parents, all young people. Why are so many of our young people immunosuppressed? That's a good question. I believe there are environmental exposures to pathogens. I believe people are born with medical challenges. I believe that they will have a complication due to immuno questions. In other words, their body is not responding properly. Another part of our developed society is that our young people are not going out. We're not finding people like we used to be in the 1900s. Children would go out and milk a cow, feed the chickens. They would be exposed to animal pathogens. They might have a runny nose, but they're building a resistance. Many of our young people don't go outside. They're sitting in front of a TV screen or a computer screen many hours of the day, but not going out. Next slide. So here are my recommendations for that fact pattern. I know it seemed horrible, but if you have anybody in your home under the guise of immunosuppression, here are my recommendations to you. Number 1, hand washing is critical in all safe food handling. Cook that meat. Keep it separate from the produce. Cook that meat at 165 degrees. Maintain all food contact surfaces as clean as possible. And that special needs humans require enhanced food safety measures. Don't give any of these immunocompromised people food that is risky. Thank you, and I look forward to the next segment. The next segment is talking about our pet friends and the food we feed them. Thank you.
This segment brought to you by Amdel In-Home Care. If you have a family member who needs a little assistance or full-time care, contact Amdel In-Home Care.
Can't find a copier or printer that fits your needs? Are the costs for printing just too high? A+ Business Systems focuses on what you need. A+ Business Systems will reduce downtime with automated alerts via email, notifying us when your printer is low on supplies, all for low, affordable monthly costs. Have you ever had a desk looking like this? A+ Business Systems will set up paperless office electronic document management software where you store every important document. With A+, there's no worry about digging through archived documents. Our electronic filing system provides the speed and efficiency to search and retrieve documents to meet the demands of modern-day businesses. Learn more about A+ Business Systems, software, services, and more at apluscopiers.net or call us at 559-442-3564.
Black MP makes up for nutrients lost to filtering, pasteurization, and processing, and it provides the probiotics and humic and fulvic minerals that can lead to optimized functioning of all the body's cells and systems, increased energy levels, and overall enhanced health and well-being. A scoop of Black MP in 16 ounces of water once or twice a day can help you achieve your health and performance goals. For more information, go to our website, blackmp.net, or call us at 559-799-9879.
You enter this door with expired tags. Beyond is another dimension, a dimension of regulations, a dimension of long waits. You have reached the registration zone. What looks like an ordinary shop is actually Mitchell Smog, located in the heart of the Tower District, a few minutes from the DMV. Mitchell Smog offers your vehicle a STAR-certified smog inspection. So remember Mitchell Smog when you need to pass through the registration zone.
In 1985, Larry Korth set out to help his friends, family, and community find affordable ways to buy a home or a business property. 30 years later, Mid-Valley Financial is the premier mortgage banker in the Central Valley. The professional staff at Mid-Valley will find the best mortgage products for your family. Mid-Valley Financial takes great pride in being the Central Valley's local lender. Visit us at midvalleyfinancial.com.
Are you currently shopping for solar? Give Solar Negotiators a call. You see, what they do is they fill downtime at a reduced rate to make sure that you always get the best deal. Don't find out later that you could have bought your solar for thousands of dollars less. Call Solar Negotiators.
If you're looking to go solar with confidence and have someone represent you in this transaction, give Solar Negotiators a call at 844-OWN-SOLAR or visit solarnegotiators.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Getting ready to sing, I keep a close eye on this heart of mine. I will keep my eyes wide open all the time. Today's segment is keeping your eyes open for your pet friends and how we feed them and what we feed them with. Let's think for a minute. Who's around us the most? Who, once we get home, will jump up and greet us? Or if you have a cat, they might reach up and scratch you. Bottom line, let's talk about the food we feed our pet friends. First slide. As we look at food served to animals, we generally buy them, and then we don't really take a look at what we're feeding them. Human pathogens in pet food is a known concern. I've actually met with pet producing companies that produce pet food. They know about it, and they raise their hands and say, Andy, we've been doing business 40 years. What do you want us to do? I tell them that people that buy their products for their animals are becoming more and more immunosensitive. They can't handle it. Let's look at why. We feed these animals, I call them human pet friends, human family, if you will. They're part of our family, these pet friends. They're an important part of American life. Our pet friends eat and sleep and are very close to us all the time. The commercial pet food we feed them contains a hidden danger. Let's talk about it. Next slide. This is a listing of all of the pet food companies that I could find. I'm sure there are many more. If you look on there, you'll probably see animal food that you're feeding your animals. Let me tell you something about contract manufacturing. Contract manufacturing is that a certain food producer will be contracted by several companies to package their same product with maybe some variation in different bags. So you might have one factory in Colorado producing 3 or 4 brands. Another one, unless it's exclusive, maybe for Costco, maybe for Walmart, or maybe for other companies that you know. You think, oh, this brand is safer. Pet food producers are in the business of making a profit. Do not be deceived. They're not in the business of helping your pet friends. They're in the business of making a profit from a product that they produce. They will cut corners if the regulators don't have it on their list. They will minimize. Some they will claim are maximized on certain features and benefits. But the bottom line, they're there to make money for their owners. Next slide. What we're talking about is the primary carrier of salmonella. That's chicken fat, chicken parts, chicken mixed parts, deboned chicken, chicken meal. And anything that says it's chicken, they do not take the precautions that human produced or food that's produced for human consumption would generally take. Chicken fat is added as to many pet food products. I mean, there's one thing if you haven't learned from watching this show yet, is to read the ingredient listing. And you might say, Andy, it's just a bunch of chemical names. Yes, but there's certain things you should look for. One of them are chicken parts. Chicken fat is a liquid that is sprayed onto many types of pet food, and it's added as a sweetener. Chicken products are usually contaminated with salmonella. Why? Because there is no intervening step. Next slide. Let's assume, and that's depending on the product, it's 80 to 90% contaminated with salmonella. If you have a pet friend like that cute little puppy there, they're being fed around you. And let's look at an ad that I found for canine power food. I'm not selling that. I'm just identifying it as a possible target. See all the chicken parts that are in there. It's 100% poultry formula. That would concern me. Why? Because you get deboned chicken, chicken meal, all chicken parts and flavoring has salmonella. Wet or dry food products. What you should be looking at is trying to avoid pet food that has chicken parts because it has not been sanitized. Next slide. Why does it have salmonella? Why does this pet food that we go out, buy, drag back in a big box or a bunch of cans into our homes, why does it have, look at on the left. That is inside a poultry production facility. Actually, that poultry has a lot more room than many. Many of them are confined to a small space, and they're actually raised inside their own feces. That's where the salmonella lives. It lives in the stomachs of these poultry. And then they just live in it. They peck around. When it's on your table, the standard is 97% free of human consumption. There is no standard. That scanning electron pictograph on the far right shows these salmonella organisms multiplying. It originates in the digestive systems of poultry. Processed chicken parts is generally contaminated with salmonella. That's all the stuff that the food producers couldn't want, so they sold it off to a pet food company. The symptoms, if you have ever had it, and I hope you never get it, are the following: fever, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, and many others. If you have that, you should probably go to the doctor if you're immunocompromised, or if you're sensitive, you've already been ill with something else. Report those symptoms and get some treatment. Next slide. Let's talk about the salmonella infection in human symptoms and what happens to people who have that organism growing inside of them. Within 12 to 72 hours, and this is why it's hard to track a food-based contaminant, because you may forget. If I was to ask somebody, what'd you eat 3 days ago? You would probably look at me and say, I forgot. I don't really know. But you start having nausea, vomiting, fever, diarrhea, abdominal cramps, 4 to 7 days later, you're looking at mild to severe. Again, each individual, if you were born on a farm and then you moved to the city and you had this because you ate some chicken or you were near a dog and you got it, look at it. Some of these people become severe when they're infants. The treatment is usually antibiotics. It's hard for us to get them here in the United States without visiting a physician first. And many of them will tell you not to go and have any of these antibiotics because we're developing a lot of horrible enhanced bacteria like methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, that organism has developed a resistance to penicillin-type medications. If you find blood in your stool, you really have a challenge. You need to go see a physician. So it can be in any kind of food or beverage, but today we're talking about meat and eggs are the most common source for human, but in pet food. Let's look at the next slide. How does pet food contaminate humans? Think about that. And that pet food has salmonella. Well, for one thing, the humans deliver the pet food. And I remember feeding my dog out of a can primarily. We're in close proximity to the food. If you dump out dry food to your pet in a kitchen, many of that dust is contaminated with salmonella. It'll aerosolize or go right up into the area or the zone where humans live. Many children like to see their animal eat. And a lot of pets are close to the proximity of human food preparation areas. I have that picture on the right to show a human hand feeding critter food. I have one of my clients as a critter food producer. They're one of the largest Costco producers. They do not have a warning if you feed wild animals with this food, which has been sprayed with salmonella, to wash your hands afterward. I'll talk about that. But humans are in close proximity, and people that do not wash their hands have the potential of cross-contaminating everyone in that household. If you feed your animal with that dust from a dry pet food, it has a lot of salmonella, then you go pick up your baby, you're going to wonder why that child has a lot of runny noses and it's constantly sick. Next slide. Again, the kitchen I have seen historically, and maybe you can prove me wrong, maybe you feed them in a sterile area. Many of the pet food feeding areas are in kitchens. We're the same place where humans prepare their food. Aerosolization is a concept which I've already mentioned. Tiny particles then will be picked up by you walking past it, the animal walking it around. It contains droplets of the infection or the virus known and bacteria known as salmonella. Our pets can carry whatever they've eaten around their muzzle to us. And I constantly see humans feeding animals by their hand and then wondering when they immediately go back to their face why they are constantly sick. Avoid the bodily fluids from pet friends. Next slide. Critter food. As I mentioned, one of the largest producers of critter food is one of our clients. They have 5 plants. They produce a wide variety of combinations of seeds primarily, but they spray them with this chicken fat. What does it mean? It's a hazard because I find most people that do feed critters out in the woods back east, it's very common for them to pick up large 50-pound bags of this, put it out in a bird feeder. We have it here too in California. They will not wash their hands after coming in contact with those products. They'll put it out for wild creatures. You see the very humorous raccoons. I lived in Maryland. There were a lot of raccoons that knocked over our trash cans and walked in our roofs in the middle of the night. But the issue is you might even have a bear out there. We don't know. That's an unknown factor in human epidemiology, what they have as far as contaminants. Yes, I've seen rats go after that same pet food, and they carry a number of organisms. So wash your hands many times over with a good sterility, good soap, and use paper towels to scrub off whatever you have left. Don't use a house towel, and then contact with that feeder and that food. Next slide. This is my recommendation. Listen to it with the heart that it's given and sincerity for you and your families. Pet food is not human food. It's not produced under the same standards as human food. Lower standards, lower costs, lower profit. That's why they're always seeking to find something that's tastier for the animal, but lowers their cost. So I say this to you. Most pet food has chicken fat. The chicken fat or the chicken parts has salmonella. Take precautions. Distance your food preparation areas from the pet area, since you already know this. Wash your hands. Exercise caution, particularly if that animal is coming in contact with people over 85 years of age. Let's look forward to the next segment. which we're going to be talking about tobacco in cigarettes and the chemicals that are associated with chemicals in tobacco smoke. Thank you.
This segment is brought to you by Best Black Seed Oil. Feel better, heal better. Visit bestblackseedoil.com.
For all of your real estate needs, call Mike Briggs Properties, 559-486-6758, or check us out at mikebriggsproperties.com. The Simonian family has been farming in the valley for 3 generations. Cold weather, drought, or accidents made ag investments risky. In 1951, C.D. Simonian started his own insurance agency to protect valley farmers from the uncertainty of the unknown. For your agricultural insurance needs, call C.D. Simonian Insurance Agency at 559-834-5333 or visit us on the web at cdsimonianinsurance.com.
For Italian cuisine, you've grown up knowing that DeCicco's in Clovis has the best. Now, for grown-ups, DeCicco's Lounge at Clovis and 4th in downtown Clovis for your after-work relaxation and all of your special events needs. DeCicco's Clovis Lounge. Future Prospects Baseball invites you to visit their state-of-the-art facility. Our coaches have years of professional experience that can help you improve your baseball or softball skills in private or group lessons. Drop by for the day or become a monthly or yearly member or join one of our age-appropriate travel teams. Bring your future prospects by weekdays from 3 to 9 p.m. or noon to 5 on weekends. Future Prospects Baseball, 5125 North Gates, just north of Shaw Avenue, or call 274-9930. Find us on the web at futureprospectscentral.com.
Are you currently shopping for solar? Give solar negotiators a call. You see, what they do is they fill downtime at a reduced rate to make sure that you always get the best deal. Don't find out later that you could have bought your solar for thousands of dollars less. Call Solar Negotiators.
If you're looking to go solar with confidence and have someone represent you in this transaction, give Solar Negotiators a call at 844-OWN-SOLAR or visit solarnegotiators.com.
You have sleep questions? Mattress Land Sleep Fit has real answers. Oh, I feel like people need a map to find their way around some mattress stores.
No, what people actually need is BedFit. It's a diagnostic system that maps your body for you. It measures your height, your weight, your distribution of weight. It actually measures your lumbar curve and how flexible that is, along with a little bit of pain questions, and we're going to find the right fit for you.
The right fit for me?
The right fit for you.
Shouldn't have bought that GPS.
Yeah, it was probably a bad move on your part.
Mattress Land Sleep Fit. The right bed, the right experience, the right price.
Viewers of Central Valley Talk, what is your home worth? The experienced agents of Mike Briggs Properties are offering a free property valuation if you mention Central Valley Talk. Find the value of your property for free. Call Mike Briggs Properties at 486-6758. Mention Central Valley Talk. Mike Briggs Properties, 486-6758. This segment is brought to you by Plexus Worldwide Ambassador Wendy Smith. 559-259-9549. Find us at fresnoslim.myplexusproducts.com.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Buddy, you're a boy, make a big noise, playing in the street, gonna be a big man someday.
You're going to be a big man someday. What does that mean to that rock and roll generation? What tailings are they going to carry through them for the rest of their lives? You know what I found? Having been involved in chemistry most of my life, analytical chemistry, high-pressure liquid chromatography chemistry, mass spectrometry chemistry, and the looking at the human body through many studies. A lot of these rock and rollers are hooked on cigarettes. And if you were to ask them, tell me the chemical analysis of that cigarette smoke, they'd look at you with a blank face, put out that cigarette, and start another one. People, let's talk very seriously about cigarette smoking and from the analytical point of view of that gas that you're producing and ingesting into your lung system, and it's staying with you literally forever. Both the addiction and the consumption. And we're going to look at what factors are driving companies to produce those products. It will astound you. If you're a smoker, and I just talked to somebody who was, Here's my admonition to you today. Re-examine your life and what's important to you. Do you value your body? You only get one. Or do you use it like you do a set of tires? Like when I was 17, I had a Firebird 67 with a turned out 440 engine, and I used to scratch those tires out. And I was wondering why my tires were wearing out so quick. But I love that smoke coming out the back end. If you think you're going to drive a 1967 Pontiac Firebird for the rest of your life, I got some news for you. You'll be driving a Prius before you know it, having kids in the back seat. Let's look at this first set of slides on chemicals in tobacco cigarettes. Look at those names. You see that? Make you interested in going to a liquor store and buying some? See those young people on the right-hand side on the top, those young ladies? Chances are they will never stop smoking cigarettes. They will be, like the young man on the bottom, a lifetime consumer. What is a cigarette? We all know what it is. If you don't already, it's a tobacco product that's rolled into small stick formation in size. They're ignited at one end, and then they're allowed to smolder. And then the consumer takes that smoke in and ingests it in their system, and then they expel it when they've received their proper dose of the chemicals. Next slide. What are those chemicals? And I've done an analysis and a study when I was in graduate school of tobacco chemicals in cigarettes. Not all of them are what you think they are. Oh, it's just, Andy, it's what the Indians used to use. It's what's used now. When I went to BYU and they had a little pot of raw tobacco, and it's used as an excellent substance for people that have bruises. So the issue is there are a lot of things in commercial cigarettes that you didn't know were in there. When you ingest that smoke, yes, you're getting nicotine, which is wonderful. But you're also getting butane, cadmium, stearic acid, carbon monoxide. It's like the end, like I just told my wife, it's like somebody getting in the end of a car exhaust and taking a big swig out of that. It doesn't cost very much either. Next slide. What are some of the other tobacco-related chemicals in cigarettes? Some of them may shock you. One of the things I hope you realize at the end of this discussion is that cigarettes have been enhanced over time by the cigarette companies to make them more addictive. They've added other chemicals that give you a stimulation, that give you a higher inducement to keep using their products, even though it's been proven that your products are harmful. Look on this chart. You see all of the chemicals, and having been a chemist for many years, I'm not going to go through all of those names. But the bottom line, if they have a skull and a crossbone next to them on this chart, you shouldn't be ingesting them into your bodies. You probably say, Andy, I thought your show was about food and safety. Well, guess what? If you're taking one of these cigarettes or more every day, that's your food. You're using those chemicals to keep going. And anything you see in there, naphthalene, butane, dibenzyl chloride, that is a horrible set of chemicals for you to just take it out of you could probably get some of that stuff out of your kitchen or chemistry shelf underneath for cleaning. Just take a swig of that. Next slide. So what are the addictive chemicals? Andy, they don't put that in there. You're wrong. Those companies love me. That's why they take care of me. They have the best, freshest tobacco. Well, let's look at that. Let's see if that's actually true and the facts are actually there to support that postulate. Oh, Andy, they have menthol in the filter. That really helps me. Yeah, but they put sugar in there. And then they have all kinds of acids, ammonia compounds. You like ammonia? Go over to your kitchen shelf or where you keep the cleaners and the degreasers and the cleansers. Take yourself a swig of ammonia. See how that tastes. You have specific changes in some of these nicotine compounds that make it more addictive. And then they have flavorings. Oh, I only like Marlboro because that has a great taste. Well, that's wonderful. I hope you enjoy that taste because that may be one of the few tastes that you will be addicted to the rest of your life. Next slide. This slide is a horrible translation. Unfortunately, it was in English, but it didn't come out very well. What it's showing you are different areas of the body that these chemicals affect, which you mostly know is your brain and your lungs, and it restricts vessels if you have a heart condition. Next slide. This is a horrible slide. I didn't want to show it, but I have to. I'm forced to. Many countries allow children on the far left as young as 2 and 3 to begin smoking with no monitoring. Those countries have escalated almost epidemic levels of conditions directly related to smoking. Many other countries do not monitor them past 10 years. So you can walk down the street in many Eastern countries, in Europe, Eastern Europe primarily, and those children are allowed to smoke openly. In our country, we are allowed still, even though we have increasing regulation of smoking, we are allowed as parents to smoke in our homes and expose our children, sometimes minor children, to secondhand smoke is what they call it. So the smoke contains over 4,000 total chemicals. 43 are known cancer-causing chemicals, carcinogenic is what they're called, and 400 other compounds. They're also known as toxins. A toxin is anything that'll kill you. So, again, just to review with you, if you haven't heard this before, you say, Andy, you're just making that up. Nicotine tar, carbon monoxide. If you like that so much, why don't you go to the end of your car and take a whiff? Formaldehyde, that's what they put in dead bodies to keep them stiff till everybody comes and has a memorial. Ammonia, hydrogen cyanide. Ever heard of that cyanide? It's a poison, folks. Arsenic, that's what kills people. DDT, that's primarily used to kill animals that we don't like. And nicotine, highly addictive. Next slide. Why are those addictive chemicals in cigarettes? Well, number one, the tobacco companies want to addict you. If you wake up in the middle of the night, hey, I got to get some cigarettes and some beer. It's not I got to get an apple or I got to get a water that's been purified. The younger these addicts are, the longer that consumer will support that company that's manufacturing that product. Does that make sense to you? As a matter of fact, at one time, there was a tobacco company, which will remain nameless, that produced a product and advertised it with a cartoon. Believe it or not, it's true. That was a camel. I show you a couple of examples. They were on billboards near schools as the kids were going to school. I graduated in 1973 from high school. I used to go to the restroom, and the whole room was filled with cigarette smoke. So I came out smelling like cigarettes. And many of those people were on the same track team with me, and they wondered why they couldn't run as fast. The health consequences of a little bit of concern for tobacco companies, because they don't really care about you as a consumer. Oh, yes, they do, Andy. They have all these precautions they're taking. They have chemists. Look at that's all a lie. Tobacco companies don't care about their consumers. Their main concern is profit to their shareholders. Does that shock you? Next slide. Let's look at the historical growth of cigarette sales. If you look around, Andy, I don't see that many people smoking. Hardly anybody smokes in my family. But the fact is that the sales of cigarettes have increased from 1900 to 2005. They're going down just a little bit. But the fact is that the number of sales are consistent and steady. When you buy a car and you go for a new car companies change those models and those features and those benefits every year to keep up with the trends that are in automobile production. Cigarette companies don't have to change anything. The only thing they have to do is increase their advertising. There are some restrictions. They increase their advertising budgets and their sponsorships. But the product itself has not changed for many years. I'd say over 50 years. Next slide. What does that mean? If I invested $1 in a tobacco company in 1968, it's a long time ago, folks. If I had that $1 in that tobacco company, it's the most profitable business out there. Right now, my $1 share would be worth $6,638. That's better than Apple, folks. That's why they don't change the product. That's why they put more addictive chemicals in there. Think about it. Next slide. So these are my recommendations for anybody listening to this show. Tobacco used in this format is a food. It induces chemicals to you. You respond to it by becoming more addictive. You also denigrate your health substantially. First recommendation, don't start smoking. That's cold, isn't it? Don't let your children start. I'm going to say that with all the emotion I have. Don't let your children start. They're going to be hooked to that tobacco company for the rest of their lives. Stop as soon as possible, you as a human. Take that human energy that you have, organize it, do anything you have to do to stop smoking today. You're only issued one human body. Don't waste it. Next slide, strike that. Next segment will be, which 10 food companies are you buying products from? You'll be surprised. Thank you.
Hi, This is Charles Scott, owner of Future Prospects Sports. Thanks for watching the Central Valley Buzz. Drop by Future Prospects and see our baseball and softball training facility.
Future Prospects Baseball invites you to visit their state-of-the-art facility. Our coaches have years of professional experience that can help you improve your baseball or softball skills in private or group lessons. Drop by for the day or become a monthly or yearly member or join one of our age-appropriate travel teams. Bring your future prospects by weekdays from 3 to 9 p.m. or noon to 5 on weekends. Future Prospects Baseball, 5125 North Gates, just north of Shaw Avenue, or call 274-9930. Find us on the web at futureprospectscentral.com. For Italian cuisine, you've grown up knowing that DeCicco's in Clovis has the best. Now, for grown-ups, DeCicco's Lounge at Clovis and 4th in downtown Clovis for your after-work relaxation and all of your special events needs. DeCicco's Clovis Lounge.
Can't find a copier or printer that fits your needs? Are the costs for printing just too high? A+ Business Systems focuses on what you need. A+ Business Systems will reduce downtime with automated alerts via email, notifying us when your printer is low on supplies, all for low, affordable monthly costs. Have you ever had a desk looking like this? A+ Business Systems will set up paperless office electronic document management software where you store every important document. With A+, there's no worry about digging through archived documents. Our electronic filing system provides the speed and efficiency to search and retrieve documents to meet the demands of modern-day businesses. Learn more about A+ Business Systems, software, services, and more at apluscopiers.net or call us at 559-442-3564.
Black MP makes up for nutrients lost to filtering, pasteurization, and processing, and it provides the probiotics and humic and fulvic minerals that can lead to optimized functioning of all the body's cells and systems, increased energy levels, and overall enhanced health and well-being. A scoop of Black MP in 16 ounces of water once or twice a day can help you achieve your health and performance goals. For more information, go to our website, blackmp.net, or call us at 559-799-9879.
You enter this door with expired tags. Beyond is another dimension, a dimension of regulations, a dimension of long waits. You have reached the registration zone. What looks like an ordinary shop is actually Mitchell's Smog, located in the heart of the Tower District, a few minutes from the DMV. Mitchell's Smog offers your vehicle a STAR-certified smog inspection. So remember Mitchell's Smog when you need to pass through the registration zone.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
Welcome back to the AME Food Safety Show. I love this song because it talks about a fantasy. I have a fantasy that someday only safe food will be available. I want to remind everybody that's watching this show that I have these free bumper stickers, Only Eat Safe Food. You must determine what is safe to you and your families. Call 559-827-8245. I will send you one of these bumper stickers at my own cost. Just call me, 559-827-8245, and let everyone you know your goal is to only eat safe food. I also want to, in this final segment, review with you this product, which sends out a UV light, ultraviolet light, which breaks apart the DNA of bacterial organisms. Use it on your computer screens, computer mice, light switches, anything where a lot of variant people touch and you know they don't wash their hands. Potentiality for human contamination is everywhere. Let's begin this segment, the final segment for today, talking about the top 10 food companies which are selling you products for you to ingest in your bodies. You'll be shocked. This first slide shows the top 10 companies. I'm going to name these, and you're going to think, oh, Andy, I don't use that. Or, Andy, that has nothing to do with me. Pepsi, General Mills, Kellogg's, British Foods, Kraft Foods, Mars, Danone, Unilever, Coca-Cola, and Nestle. These are the major food companies. They might sell you beer, chips, any kind of food that you can imagine, cereal for your children. Next slide. This slide shows a lot more substantive information about the relationships of these companies and their products. As you look at Nestle, I believe they have over 900 products, but this chart is somewhat abbreviated. Coca-Cola, that chart alone would be taking this entire area of all their associated companies. Unilever, PepsiCo, that's actually one of my clients on one of my products. We screen it for the total bacteria. And we're almost assuming that they want to produce a product that is aseptic or the absence of any bacteria. Kellogg's, General Mills, Kraft Foods, Mars. What is important to you is to know that very few companies produce the food that you're eating every day and your family's eating. What does that mean? As we looked at tobacco producers, their main goal was to have more people buy their products. So they produce inducements or chemical inducements to keep their tobacco users keep using it from youth to death. A lot of these products that you see listed have the same incentive. Let's look why. Next slide. These vendors show different names producing more products. They even produce anything from Tide, cleansing, and potato chips. You might see gum. You might see fresh water. All of these companies have the same motivation to make money from your purchase of things that you will ingest or use. Next slide. Why am I drawing that out? Why am I saying it's important to look at what food companies are producing? Here's a slide that might shock you. You see these producers, they're pretty much the same as the others with their associated products. What you don't see is that these companies support genetically modified organisms. What is it? GMO. These are organisms that scientists like me have developed to grow them faster, to use a chemical that will kill weeds and bugs, and to make other changes that you might find surprising. They change the genetic structure of these products. They could be vegetable, animal, or mineral that you are consuming, so you'll buy more, and the consequences of which are as yet undetermined. Next slide. But these companies don't want GMO products incorporated into their products that they are labeling. As I've always said in this show, the AME Food Safety Show, read the label, look for genetically modified organisms, and avoid those products. The best way to have more non-GMO products is to buy them. Sponsor companies that are morally committed not to harm the human race. And what you see here, oh yes, Andy, we already know about some of these fancy food companies that I can't afford to go into, like Whole Foods, like Trader Joe's. But look at these companies. Try to find those products, but still read the labels. Next slide. This might shock some of the parents out there, particularly after Halloween, is to look at food companies from that major group that have genetically modified organisms in candy. Can I find a child out there that doesn't think about candy 24 hours a day? Look at these. Snickers, Butterfields, Twix, Milky Way, a lot of my favorites, by the way. My dad owned a store when I was a kid, and I used to work all day to get a Snickers bar. That's why my teeth are mostly rotted out. But the bottom line is that these products are made with complete disregard for the whole issue of genetically modified organisms. The day that you stop buying genetically modified organisms is the day that a marketing manager for one of these big food companies say, hey, you know what? We need to change. It's your dollars. You're the food safety activist that I want to see out there. Next slide. Andy, I try to buy everything organic. Well, guess what? You're going to face the same situation. Very few major food organic producers and a lot of mom and pops. What do those big food companies do? They go out and they look for viable acquisition candidates, and then they buy them. Maybe somebody started a honey production. Maybe somebody else started a lettuce production, which is non what they call commercial or non-chemical or organic. Walmart has a certain line. When you go to buy produce in the grocery store, look at the lines. If it doesn't say non-GMO or organic, the chances are you're going to have a genetically modified organism in that less expensive product. But Andy, I can't spend that extra $1 for tomatoes. Fine. Let's see how your children look next generation. We have more children that are autistic than we've ever had. It wasn't 20 years ago. I did a study when I was in college of what were the contributing factors. And there are a lot of them. But my personal opinion is that there are going to be more autistic children because of genetically modified organisms. There are studies that say that, and other studies sponsored by those major food companies say it has nothing to do with it. You be the judge. Next slide. Here's a very surprising fact about companies that produce food. Does everybody know what a director is on a board of directors? They make global decisions for the food company. Some of these companies have hundreds of products, 1,000, 2,000. But what's consistent in a lot of these companies are the board members, the controlling stockholders. As you look at this chart, you'll see board members that are sitting on the Coca-Cola board, they're sitting on the Cargill board, they're sitting on the Heinz board, they're sitting on the Tyson board. So they are making the same discretionary decisions, the judgments. Leave that chemical in there. It really hooks them. Hey, don't worry about GMOs. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for moral people that produce moral food. Immoral people don't care about you. In my opinion, and you can sue me if you want, tobacco producers are immoral. Yeah, they put a filter on there, and yes, they have a lot of ads, and yes, they have a lot of placement in movies. But they produce a horrible product. Look at this. Biotech companies are directly contributing. Merck, which is a German company, which I'll raise in another show. They produce beer. You're looking at a lot of different companies. Diamond is here in town, in the valley. Look at what the directors do and the consistency of their decisions. Next slide. Andy, you know what? I eat a lot at fast food joints. And there are a lot of films on YouTube about, 30 days of McDonald's, whatever it was, and the person became somewhat slightly obese and had other challenges. What are these fast food producers producing in the area of food? It's very consistent. You'll see a lot of high fructose corn syrup. It's almost in everything. As a young man, I worked at McDonald's. And I asked my boss, I said, why is the McDonald's bun so brown? He said, Andy, are you dumb? We put brown sugar in there. And then why are the fries so addictive? I can't just eat one. Well, he said, number one, it's the salt. And then we put additional chemicals in there to make the people eat them. And as they ask you, would you like a meal? What that's meaning, if it's breakfast, it's those hash brown fries with the hydrogenated oil that will never leave your body. Or it's the French fries with the same kind of oil. Sometimes they say, oh, we use peanut oil or we use soy oil. But all of those oils have chemicals in them that they've intentionally added to make you eat more. In another show, I'll raise the issues with Kentucky Fried Chicken. I love, and I have to eat it when I'm out of town because my wife won't let me eat it here in town, is the original flavor. It has a chemical called MSG. Remember that? It was originally designed by the Japanese so that their soldiers would eat rotten food. I'll raise that in another session. Next slide. So here's my suggestions for you on the corporate publishing and marketing of food that's hazardous to you. Read the label. You're going to hear me say this every time. When you go to these food companies, these fast food joints, they will have a nutrition chart. And it's so small, the print, you can't even read it. You have to take a magnifying glass. But the issue is think twice. A lot of them are having fresh alternatives. I suggest if you're a parent or if you're a person with immunocompromised situations or you want to improve your health in general, look at that chart. Try to avoid high fructose corn syrup. When you go to the drink bar now, would you like a large or small? They're asking you if you want a double dose, even though you can walk back and forth as many times as you want to get more sugar in your system. You'll have a rush for about 20 or 30 minutes so that sugar tails down. And then you'll sort of meander around, oh, why did I eat there? So the bottom line for you is to read the food labels, look for harmful ingredients, avoid that product, research your eating habits, make wise choices. As a matter of fact, on the road for the last 5 years, because I do travel quite a bit, I've been trying to go into grocery stores and look at fresh produce rather than a prepared product with all those chemicals. So what I'd like to do is to close this show for today, for the AME Food Safety Show, with my final warning. Eat safe food. And if you'd like, I can send you this bumper sticker so you can let your friends and family know, only eat safe food. Thank you very much. I look forward to the next show.
This segment is brought to you by Full Circle Brewing Company, your off-rogue beer and entertainment venue. Visit Full Circle at Ventura and F Streets.
Black M.